once again to Political Paradigm. I am Terry Ikumi. It's all politics here, and in most cases we'll talk governance because they're closely related. But we've been talking about the Kogi State governorship elections for a while now. We're looking to talk to the Imo State candidates and Bayelsa State candidate as well. Well, let's turn our attention to another off-season election that would hold next year. Well, primaries have not been held, so the candidates have not emerged. But the aspirants are already talking. Today I'm speaking with one of them. He's a former member of the House of Representatives. He's a lawyer and an aspirant on the platform of the People's Democratic Party, Honorable Sergius Ogun. Welcome to Political Paradigm, Honorable.
Thank you for having me.
It's nice to see you again. I'm used to seeing you on the floor of the House of Representatives. But here we're speaking in a different capacity.
Yeah.
You're aspiring to be governor. But before we go into all that, talk to me about how it's been for you leaving the National Assembly.
Yeah, it's good. It's something I actually looked forward to. You know, people come to the National Assembly or come into politics, they don't have a termination date. For me, from day one, I had a termination date. I came from the private sector. I knew I was going to do 2 terms because in my place we do zoning. You do 2 terms and move on. But before I came in, there was an issue. The person I succeeded wanted to continue. Of course, it's within his right to continue, but again, within the senatorial, it was resisted. So I could not have come in to do anything more than 2 terms. So from day one, I knew I was going to do 2 terms and then go back to business.
But look how that played out. I
mean,
well, you on the platform of the PDP, you had your zoning arrangement.
Yeah.
You let go, someone else came in, and then the APC took over.
Yeah, but you know why the fight? That was a fight. That was a fight, I mean, within the party. And then some of the leaders did anti-party. That was what brought APC in. But it's all good. We are one. I mean, my successor is like a younger brother to me. I mean, we have wonderful relationship. So bottom line is the constituency. You know, how well are we going to represent the constituency, the senatorial, and then the state? So my coming here, I was to just do 2 terms and then go back to Port Harcourt and do my business and then...
Well, here you are running for governor.
Yeah, so you know how it is.
We'll talk about that. Well, speaking of elections, let's look at the September the 2nd local government elections where the People's Democratic Party won all the 18 local government areas in the state. So let's talk about that. What do you make of that election?
Well, you know, typically in Nigeria, the local government, being the 3rd tier of government, does not really exist, and it's unfortunate. I can't remember the last time there was an election anywhere, and there was a free and fair election at that local government level. Yeah, Kaduna tries to do something, even at that. They have computers, they say it's electronic voting. The results should come out immediately. Even in Kaduna, it doesn't come out immediately, you know? But that's the closest that we've had or we've seen lately. The governors are in charge, and then they do whatever they want to do. I will prefer, when I become the governor of the state, of my state, I will not interfere in any local government election. I know somebody will say, it's easier said than done. No, I would not, because you go around, not just my state, you see most states in the country. The drainages are filled up with debts. Who should desilt? Who should clean? Drainages within town. You know, we're just talking about bad roads a while ago. Why do we have local governments that cannot collect tax and then maintain their local governments? So if you empower them to do that, I expect that when an election comes, they should be able to defend their votes. They should be able to seek for votes from the people and win. And that should be a benchmark for me as a governor to know if I'm doing well in that local government. So the idea of just sitting down somewhere and writing results, I think is bad. It should be condemned by all. And we tried to move the local government funds away from the state governors. Even the president did that. They went to court, and then that's it. But I think there should be free and fair election from the top.
You think the one in Edo State on the 2nd of September was not free and fair?
Well, I don't know.
I mean, your party won.
Yeah, that's why I say it's not just my party in Edo State. It's
no, I'm speaking to you.
Yeah.
based on what happened in those states. I'm speaking to you as a governorship aspirant in the 2024 governorship election.
I was not
so
a part
the conversation is strictly those states for now.
Yeah.
So the 2nd of September local government elections, which you sort of question. You don't think that it was free and fair, even though your party won all the 18 local government areas.
Yeah, well, that's the practice in the country today. It's become a convention.
No, I'm asking. You don't think it was free and fair?
I would not. It would be difficult for me to say that.
Was it free and fair? There's no
local government election that's free and fair in Nigeria. Let me put it that way. Not just a do. There's none. People come out to vote, but this is the trick. They don't come out with enough ballot papers. They just come out with few, just in case they need to go back and thumbprint others.
Does it seem to you like a preparation for the governorship election?
Oh, well, I don't think so. But like I said, if I was there, that would have been a benchmark for me to know if I've done well in 6 years or 7 years, and not...
But what does this mean for your party, the PDP, going into, as we look toward the 2024 governorship election, with the PDP winning all the local government areas in the state, does it suggest anything positive for your party in the governorship election next year?
Ordinarily, yes, it should, because it means that now you have the council chairman who should take charge in those local government and then work to deliver the party,
But
those local governments.
But where do we now draw the line between governance and politics? Because if the focus is to win elections on the big stage when it comes to the governorship election, and you don't allow the local government chairman focus on deliverables, where do we draw the line?
Well, if you ask me, bottom line really there should be free and fair election.
This way the local government chairman will work.
From the top down, because if you have free and fair elections, you can impose the council chairman on the local government. But if there's a free and fair election, the people will come out and their will to vote to that person would be seen clearly. But if there's no free and fair election, you impose the council chairman on the people, then the governorship election comes, is manipulated, then the people really don't have a say. And that's why most times we are talking about turnout. People say, the turnout is very poor. Yeah, because the people are disenchanted. They're almost giving up. The thing is, whether we vote or we don't vote, it will not reflect.
You know the difference between local government elections and the national elections? In fact, even the governorship elections should also be almost be very clear. Because while people may be disenchanted with what happens at the national level, when it comes to their locality, they should be more interested because to an extent they know each and everyone who is running for office. So if you look at this election now and we compare it to what happened with the February elections, especially in Edo State. Now, state elections, the PDP won all the seats. National elections, National Assembly elections to be specific, you find that the PDP won only one seat in the House, no Senate seat. You have a new party, like not necessarily new, but a third force like the Labour Party, winning one senatorial seat and I think 2 or 3 House of Reps seats. What does this say if you compare both elections going into the 2024 governorship election?
Well, Edo is a very unique state. We, like they say, we know they carry last. We speak our mind, even where you might not really be within our group in National Assembly. They will say, Edo people will body to the hot. We just say the way it is, and So for the presidential election, even then I was obedient. So
despite being in the PDP.
Yeah. And I said it, and everywhere I went to, that look, I didn't think it was good for a Fulani man to finish, another Fulani man to take over. And I also felt that power should go to the southeast. And I spoke up on that. Without even going home to campaign with the obedience. But people were naturally obedient. So we cannot use that to benchmark we couldn't use that to benchmark the House of Assembly election. But even with the House of Assembly election, the governor went round. And I give it to him, He humbled himself, went around and begged to say, please, I need to finish my term and finish well. PDP didn't win all the seats, I think, but they got about 15 or so, So there we got into the local government election. So like I said, in Nigeria, it's usually written by all the governors. And that was what followed. So, but I would have thought that that would be a benchmark to say, okay, fine. We didn't do well in the national, maybe they forgave me and then they gave me enough seats in the House of Assembly. Maybe we should just test to see how the people will, let's see, a reflection of what we have done so far. Well,
it doesn't seem like it's working. I mean, look at the outcome of the National Assembly elections, as I drew attention to. And then look at what happened, how the PDP practically lost. Meanwhile, the PDP is the ruling party in the state. Does it suggest to you that the people are disenchanted with the ruling party in the state?
I don't think so. Okay, I think I mentioned this earlier. There was deliberate anti-party in that election. Some leaders in PDP wanted to get the attention of the governor. The legacy group felt the governor didn't really appreciate them, and maybe he believes he won the 2020 election based on his own popularity. So they wanted to let him know, we gave you the ticket, we are the masquerade behind you. So if you believe you are strong enough to deliver this state to our party, we will give our votes to another party. That was just what happened.
Is that the state of the PDP now, as we speak?
You see a PDP state, but the PDP voters voted...
No, I mean, the state of the party.
Yes.
Is that what is happening till this moment?
No,
Are
well...
they still disenchanted?
Well, they are talking. They are talking. I think they will... Now, the national is involved. They are trying to settle both parties. I'm sure you should know this. There's the part that's called Legacy, PDP. The other one is with the governor. But hopefully they will come together before the elections. Hopefully.
Where do you belong?
I'm in both.
You're in both?
Yes, and yet I'm obedient.
That's the most confusing
so I'm a man of many parts.
I've heard. I think it's from your statement, it's almost obvious that there is a huge crisis in the PDP in Edo State. Before we talk about the situation with the gap between the governor and the deputy, let's also look at the reports of decampment of PDP members to other parties.
I think there's a very good friend of mine and a brother, Gideon Ikine, Engineer Gideon Ikine, was one of the aspirants in the 2020 election and stepped down for the governor. He wasn't getting traction. I mean, I think he had discussed with some members of the party, and for what I know, I think he even mentioned this to me, to say, look, he was told that he will be given the first choice of refusal. There's a word for it, I can't quite...
Right, and, refusal.
Yeah, and then people came out and everybody was campaigning. Nobody revisited that, the right of first refusal. Nobody mentioned that again. Nobody went back to that, And then he also watched the body language of the governor. He wasn't sure that the governor was looking at his own side. And then he decided to move on. After all, we're not even in power at the center. And then, I'm sure the other one that moved recently is the former Minister of Works, Honorable Memon, who is also a strong member and a leader in PDP. I guess same thing. You're looking at the governor, you're not sure you can do one-on-one with the governor. And at this level, people will tell you, if at this level you cannot do one-on-one with the governor, there's no way you're going to be his successor. So just move on. And what people fail to realize is you have to offer somebody something. So we have Edo State. Yeah, that's fine. PDP is the government in Edo State today. But you don't have the center. You don't have anything to offer outside the state. So if you are not sure that those in the state are even listening to you, and those at the center are calling you to say, look, our doors are opened. Come. If we don't give you the ticket here, we can give you something else. So why will they wait? That's the way I see it. Why would they wait?
But beyond the conversation, who's leading the talks between both factions? Permit me to use the word faction. Of the
factions,
PDP. Who's leading the
Well, I
talks
think
of reconciliation?
the National Working Committee are involved, and then leaders in the state are also involved. Because when you have factions, you have leaders in both groups.
The National Working Committee of the PDP is involved.
Yes.
They're not even involved in the reconciliation at the national level. So
there are no issues at the national level.
There are issues at national level. I mean, from
no.
fallout of the presidential election, and they've been mute on this for a while, and it's been going on. So,
but something is going on. I can't give you all that now. There were meetings over the weekend.
Okay.
You know, and at that level. So that I think they are almost close to resolving that.
Okay, that's great. So let's look at the rift between the governor and his deputy, and how that is affecting, or had affected, because it seems like there's some reconciliation now. We do not know, but we know that the governor had said, withdraw your political ambition, and we hear that there's been some process of forgiveness. But how has that affected the People's Democratic Party?
Well, it will be easy to say it will not affect the party, you know, but I think the deputy governor is still going to run. And maybe the reason why the governor, what I heard, why the governor said, look, wait till maybe November if you have ambition to run, so that you don't affect governors who were elected to work for the people. We cannot now throw that away and be running around the state campaigning and then, you know, allow governors to suffer. But be honest, let's be honest here. If somebody wants to run for office, even if you are the sitting governor, you can only come out to begin to reach out to people in November, when the primaries will be in February. You know, so that would be too late. So I'm sure that is why initially maybe the deputy governor went ahead, and the governor wasn't happy about that. That was what brought maybe the friction. But now that they have settled, I believe that they are giving attention to governors. But I still strongly believe that the deputy governor will run. You know.
But here, I think I started off saying that the governor had said, withdraw your governorship ambition, especially because we hear that the governor has a preferred candidate.
Yeah, he has every right to have a preferred candidate, but that also does not mean that other people cannot aspire. Like when I told you now that I made a choice not to, I made a decision not to run for a third term. But it's within my rights, you know, to contest as many times as I want to contest. So same thing, the governor might have a preferred candidate, but does that mean that other people cannot aspire to contest?
That's your position?
Yeah, there's going to be a primary. The primary will come, so the governor has his preferred candidate. Any other person can come out.
So let me tie that to something that the leaders of the PDP did when they berated Governor Shaibu for taking the governor to court on trying to prevent an impeachment. You were part of the leaders of that meeting who felt that he was wrong. You felt that he didn't exhaust all possible mechanisms. You were part of it, weren't you? And what did you expect him to have done?
Well, there was a meeting called in my senatorial, and I was actually leaving the senatorial that it to Benin, and I was told about the meeting. So I stopped by there. Basically, what was agreed is, yes, he should not have done this to the governor and all that. So we're not in support of what he did. Yeah,
taking the governor to court to stop his impeachment.
Yes, well, he preempted that something was going to happen. He preempted them, so to speak. Yeah, maybe it was a smart move, but like the governor denied it, the governor's camp denied it. There was nothing like that. But that happened. That happens. So it's not a big deal, you know. But this is the thing. The deputy governor is from Edo State and is within his rights to contest for that position. Maybe between him and his boss, they didn't have that conversation, and maybe he was just going around maybe sensitizing people that I might be interested in this. You know, in government, people lie a lot. Maybe the governor got wind of this and was offended. And then there was this rumor about 14 people meeting with the governor and they were planning to impeach. And then they were trying to get some more people, House of Assembly members, to join. And one or two of them told the deputy governor, and then he hurried to court. Why, when you asked earlier, which of the factions am I? You know, they went to court during the national elections, the presidential and the National Assembly elections. We had parallel primaries, and then they went to court, up to the Supreme Court. That was part of the reasons why PDP lost Edo State. Even when we didn't have any governor, when we didn't have a PDP governor. In national elections, PDP will always have 2 senators, and it would be 4 House of Rep members. So now, I felt we could have sat down as a family and used mechanism within the party to resolve those issues. I didn't think we needed to go to court. So it was difficult for me to begin to align with any group, when they went to court. And the fallout of that was when eventually a faction got judgment from the court. Others said, okay, fine. You've gotten judgment. Okay, go and execute it. You are on the ballot, then go and win the election. That was just what happened, So, and I pray that that will not be the case this time around, My dear friend and former colleague, the deputy governor, went to court. He's withdrawn the case, and he's apologized to his boss. And I think they have moved on.
There's something else that people believe is haunting the PDP, and that is the dissenting voices that were raised when Governor Obaseki and his deputy joined the PDP in 2020, because the Adams-Oshiomhole-led APC at the time did not want to give him the ticket. There were concerns as to the level of integration that the original members of the party would get. And perhaps that's what haunting the party till today. Because as it stood at the time, until this moment, Governor Obaseki, because of his position as governor and his deputy, took over the structure of the party. And I think that's perhaps what's the reason behind the supremacy battle between him and the state party chairman, isn't it?
Well, the state party chairman is actually with the governor.
Okay.
The leader of the other group is the national vice chairman, South, Chief Dan Obi.
Okay.
Yeah, who was the state chairman, for 2-3 terms before he went to the national. This is what I heard. Remember, I was at the center, I was in Abuja. So I was not involved in all the politics down in the state. What I heard then was that we had finished our Congress and we already had the state executive in place, state working committee. That when the governor came, certain elements within the party wanted him to dissolve the state working committee and put a new one in place. And the reason for this was most of them did not participate in the emergence of the Congress that brought about the state working committee then. Most of them, in short, I don't think there was any senator there. I was there. I don't think there was any senator that attended. Some House of Rep members did not attend, and some big leaders. So now we get the ticket to the governor, we have the governor. So they wanted to use the opportunity to do away with the state working committee. They told the governor, you are the leader of the state, so whatever you want is what you get. And then the state working committee went to court saying that they must exhaust their tenure. And I think they got a judgment that was never appealed. What others had advised was, okay, you know what? Now, Mr. Governor, you have come in. You came with some people from APC. Those in the state working committee, take some of them out, give them appointment. If you're at the local government level, give them appointment. You have superb contract, give them contract. As you take them out, then you cannot take some people that came with you from APC and put them in the state working committee and even the local government executives. Well, I think it was advised otherwise. Yeah, and then I think that's where the fight started from. So when you say there was no integration, people didn't have that sense of belonging that they were part of the government. I think the governor tried his bit, but when people are talking from all sides, this is what usually...
So that lack of integration could be affecting the PDP in the state as we speak?
Yeah, that's the problem we have today, and nothing less.
That's interesting. Let's go into the politics proper of the governorship election. Governor Godwin Obaseki has now, from what we hear, prefers Asue Ighodalo. And he believes that this is to ensure what he describes as fairness, equity, and justice. That's where Mr. Ighodalo is from Edo Central.
Yes,
where
it's from my local government.
Is it in the spirit of fairness as well, as described by the governor, that you have thrown your hat in the ring?
Well, I got involved with this whole governorship thing from the minute I said I was not going to run for a 3rd term. So people started telling me, you've done so well. You represented us well in the National Assembly, so why don't you come in? And That was when it started. And matter of fact, I met the governor a couple of times to say, look, I will be interested in this, you know. Even though I'd heard that he might have a preferred aspirant in mind. But again, come on, that's life. The governor might have a preferred aspirant, but who says the aspirant will win? I can tell you for free.
That he will not win the primaries?
For free.
If it is free
yes,
and fair.
There's free and fair primaries. So give it your best shot.
But what edge do you have over him?
Over who?
Ighodalo, or perhaps any other aspirants within the PDP?
I am a party man. I have been in the party. I'm not like many that will tell you that they were the ones that formed PDP. When they formed PDP, I was even not interested in politics. I only joined PDP in 2005 because we went home to rebuild my father's old house, and they were talking about roads. The road leading to the house was terrible. And the people in the community told me that unless you are with these people, they will not listen to you. So I joined and I spoke to the local government chairman. The same day I mentioned it to him, the next day they came and they graded the road. So that's how I became an accidental politician, you know. Then eventually I was doing stuff for people in the community because I now started going home often. And then I started doing stuff for people, and then I started saying, okay, you have never asked us for anything. You're just doing things for people. You are grading roads and you are giving scholarship to people. You are giving notebooks. You are doing medical, whatever. Because those were just money spent on those things were like pocket money. You know, my colleagues or my contemporaries in the oil and gas industry will put in their back pocket and go for an evening out in a lounge or a nightclub. You know, and then you sing boho and you see your community dancing. It was nothing to me. So that's how they sucked me into politics. And I believe I came to the center and I did my best because I just wanted to serve. So that is what I have going for me. Coming from the private sector, I have spent time in government, 8 years. So I have an experience that can best serve Edo people. That's what I have. I don't know what others have, but for me, that is what I have. And I believe leadership needs courage. You need courage to be a leader. And if you don't hold back and you govern a state with the fear of God, most of the things happening in this country today will not be happening. I don't know how people can sleep well when in your state, people can't take 3 square meals. There are so many people in different states in this country can't take 3 square meals. And you have a governor drinking champagne somewhere, you know, flying all over the world and doing all manner of things. I mean, it's a shame. So we need to bring governance close to the people. And the minute we do that, some of these problems we have been talking about in this country, Boko Haram, banditry, will all go down because there are too many people that are not covered. You go to some of the rural communities that I represent, no primary healthcare center. The ones they are not even functioning. Primary schools are not functioning well. High schools, you have a secondary school, and you have 2 teachers. I schooled in Fuga, St. John's College, Fuga. When I was in high school there, we had more than 1 teacher to a course, you know. So it's not a case of this teacher did not come today, so you will not have this, you will not take this course. No, we had more than 1. I think we had up to 2, 3 vice principals. But today you have 2 teachers, 2 in an entire school, senior and junior. Maybe one is the principal, the other one is just a teacher, or both of them are principals. Maybe we just 1 teacher.
Are you talking about Edo State?
Well, it's all over the country, really.
No,
even though that's happening
in Edo State, because I think that the reports from Edo State almost suggest that there's a high level of improvement with regards to education in the state. Is there?
Yeah, well, the governor has done well with this Edo best. But like I said, I am from a rural community.
So it doesn't touch the rural areas as much?
In most states, yes, and even in my state. Yes, because people don't want to go to the rural area. They are cut off, basically. Okay, you imagine now, you have a teacher that maybe the husband is a civil servant in Benin and was transferred to my village, Ugboha. The way the roads are today, how is that teacher going to ever travel to Benin to see the family? And more so, this has been, not under this government, it's been there. They are transferred from Benin to rural areas. And I think they just pay their way out of it and they return to Benin. Instead, I had this conversation over the weekend with some very senior men in Benin. I went to visit one of my leaders in the oil and gas industry to also tell them about my aspiration. They were discussing things like this. Even within Benin City, Edo South, places like Abudu and all, we don't have enough teachers in the schools there. Everybody wants to be in the city. So why don't we give the teachers incentives? Why don't we give nurses incentives so that they can go to the rural community and work in the primary healthcare centers and then work in those schools?
You know, this is a function of the state government. Primary education, basic education, primary healthcare is a function of the state government. And as we speak about these things, I'm hoping you can speak about them in detail, especially because, as you say, if a free and fair primary is held in Edo State PDP, you would win that.
Yeah.
So if you win that, one of the things that could speak for or against you is the performance of Governor Godwin Obaseki as a PDP governor, at least in the past 4 years. So I'd ask you this question. Let's assess governance in Edo State beyond, yes, under Governor Godwin Obaseki, and then look at governance in Edo State from 1991, since it was created, and compared to what it is now, to find out if we've made any progress or not.
Yeah, you see, they have all done well, funny enough. My son, political. Somebody like Lucky Benedium, he similarly built some roads and then maybe some schools and even industries. There's a Casavita factory in my senatorial. I think there is a fruit processing plant in the south, and I think there is a fertilizer plant in the north. You know, this was to start and then maybe get the private sector to take over eventually so that they can create labor. And it was an industry closest to the people that, from if you have an industry somewhere and you can have a subsidiary industry from there. So that was a good thing. He did his bit and then left. Then Oshomole came. Massive road projects, People say from my senatorial, oh, Oshomole doesn't like us and all that. But there are roads I can point to. Even the road leading to my village, smooth, was done by Oshomole. Then Obaseki has come in and he's reinvented so many things, and I give that to him. The civil service, Now, if you go to that building, the secretariat, you would think you are probably looking at the headquarters of ExxonMobil or Chevron, That's good. And I heard it's brought a whole lot of incentive in to give the civil servants a sense of belonging. And they are the engine of government, really. So if you make them comfortable, you're able to get the best out of them. And then there are innovations here and there. I think there is a Doe Enterprise Park going on right now. That will allow manufacturers to come in, where they will have access to the sea, to water. They have to barge their stuff and take them out. They have access to almost 24 hours light. They have a gas pipeline there. I think Oshomo is not far from there. So then I have been talking about smart cities. Let's look, how come we have the old GRA? Why can't we have a smart city? Why can't we have a new city that will be developed by the private sector? And I just saw something that came out the other day, Kora City, that's been developed by the governor. So he's taking governance a notch higher than what he meant. So that's what I'm saying. They've all done well. It's very easy to sit down here and say, oh, well, that one was not good or this one is not good. They've all done well within the limits of what was available to them.
So when you say they've all done well, I'd like to draw your attention to the standard of living, because some of the things you mentioned were more infrastructure-based, from administration to administration. So how have these governors effected change in the state that has affected the standard of living of the people, especially because the poverty level as reported as at 2022 November in Edo State is at least 31%. Sounds like a good figure. But Edo State population is just about 4.7 million. So 31% of 4.7 million people poor doesn't sound good, does it? So how has governance over the years affected development or the standard of living of the people of Edo State?
Well, it's all related. I talked about industry. If we're able to get the Edo Enterprise Park up and running, for somebody like me, I would give companies tax break. We're to build the Kora City, a smart city. If I'm sure we have the highest number of people in the diaspora from Edo State, most of them will want to come home and invest, not just in industry, but even in real estate. Yeah, because now, people send money home to get a building. The pictures they get will be different from what's physically on ground. So if you have an estate that the government is involved in, not necessarily building might take the infrastructure there, maybe take a major road there, we work to get lights and water and all that in there. Then you get the private sector to develop it. So in that way, I would not even mind as a governor to say, okay, the state will take 15% equity from this project.
No, Honorable Sir, just before you talk about what you intend to do, because there will be time. You have your manifesto, which has not been released.
No, Terry, I'm trying to build this in.
Yet. What I really asked was more about if you agree that the standard of living in the state has not really improved over the years, despite having these governors focus so much on infrastructure. And most importantly, if the pockets of the people have been affected or otherwise, do you agree that the governors over the years, including perhaps Governor Obaseki, have not paid attention to improving the standard of living of the people over the years?
Yeah, well, it's foundational because it's subnational. Okay, now, we talk about the exchange rate. There's nothing we are going to do in Edo State that will make the exchange rate different. Maybe what we can do is to make sure that our people that are largely agrarian, can go to farm and food will be cheap in Edo.
Was that done? Has that been done in the past years?
Work in progress. Work in progress. Because I know there are so many companies coming in now. We are talking about big agriculture and all that. So with time, if people can go and farm and we have cheap farm produce in Edo, besides the fact that food will be cheap there, it also means that people will come from neighboring states to buy things from the states. And that is empowerment for the farmers, So that's work in progress. But the other one I was talking about, like the enterprise park, if you have manufacturers come in and they have lights, why are companies leaving Nigeria for Ghana? It's power. And Edo State, we have the largest onshore gas in this country. So if you can bring in companies, I know you're talking about it as if I'm talking about my own, but I know that's where the governor is going to today. So if you have the Edo Enterprise Park, and manufacturers can come in, they will employ people. They will pay tax. Even if we give them a tax break, people that will supply them stuff will pay tax. The workers will pay tax. Then they are rendering a service. This can help expand the economy and employ more people.
Would they be worried about security as well? Because I recall that last year, your colleague, Honorable Benson Idahosa, through his media aide, had said that people were being abducted in Edo State. He talked about banditry, murder, rape, all that put together in various communities. Do you agree that that's the state of Edo State?
Not exactly, no.
Is Edo State safe, relatively?
Edo State is safe. Whatever my colleague would have described is everywhere in this country. It's everywhere in this country.
So it does exist in Edo State as well?
Just because Edo State is in Nigeria.
No, we're not talking about Nigeria.
Okay, you see now, you cannot, when you are driving from Asaba, and that happens to me often, at times I can't get the flight.
No, I spoke with the governor of Akwa Ibom State. He says the state is safe. He was emphatic. His state is safe.
Yeah, it's easier said than done. I live in Port Harcourt. River State is very safe. But have you heard of incidents?
No, I've been told that River State is not entirely safe.
Exactly. Yes, but if you ask Sim Fubarana, the governor, he will tell you, oh, perfect, my state is very safe.
But I expect that you would be honest, wouldn't you?
Yeah, Edo State is safe.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's just that if I go to farm, I have farms. If I go to farm, will I go to farm alone and be there and be sure that I will go back home in safety? No. Not so sure that I will go home in safety. Because there are things that I don't believe that the state governors can manage right now, because they will tell you they are not in charge of the security. As a subnational, they are not in charge of the security. Because they can give instruction and to be reversed from above. So some of those things are taken care of, which we try to do with the Constitutional Amendment Review Committee. That didn't quite work. But I believe we'll get there someday.
Absolutely. No. There's another thing that's of concern to a lot of people, and that's infrastructure, specifically road infrastructure in Edo State. We've seen videos, training videos of the state of the road. We've heard the governor say that most of those roads are federal roads. To an extent understandable, we'll talk about that. But most importantly, the governor in the 2022 budget proposed to spend 51 billion naira. 30 was supposed to be on improving roads and bridges, and 21 billion would be for physical infrastructure and maintaining existing ones. So 51 billion naira in the past 1 year. How do you assess its implementation with regards to road infrastructure and other physical infrastructure that the governor promised?
I know the governor is embarked on a lot of road projects. but it might just not be enough. But you see, we easily lose sight of what we are going through in this country today. We have over 5,000 kilometers of pipeline network around the Federation. I was supposed to carry refined products to depots from where tankers would take and move to the rural areas. Yeah. But they're not working today. So everybody is using the roads. And most of our tankers back then, whether tankers or trucks, were rated for about 30 tons. But today they are doing 40, 41 or more tons. All this on the roads. So that our roads are failing is not something that happened overnight. I said this, I think it was sometime last month. I don't agree with my governor or any governor that says because it's a federal road, you will not give attention to the road. It was a pothole before it became a gully, before it cut off completely.
Absolutely.
So when it was a pothole, you have, in every state that you have a federal controller of works. I know the way they work in the center here. Take them there. Let them see, look, this is the state. I know you will apply, we will write to Abuja, but we will fix it. Document the cost. Send it to them. If they pay, all well and good. If they don't pay, well, because you're citizens. You are governing the state. And some of these roads that even are in the metropolis, people on those stretch, on those arteries, they pay tax, not to the center, but to the state government. Like I mentioned earlier, when you have dirty drainages that are not being cleared and all, people that trade there pay tax to the center, or even to the local government, or to the state and to the local government. So in a situation when the state government is saying that the roads are bad because the federal government didn't do anything, we could have done something and send the bill to them and then be crying after. Because I'm aware that the present government in the state got some 18 billion refund of the jobs that his predecessor did. You know? I know they have scarce resources. Now, they have a budget here. If you have to take out of that to do some of these things, you might not be able to cover some of the state roads you want to do. But even some of the state roads are very bad, which I put down again to most of these trucks plying these roads, you know. But I will fix state and federal roads because the people plying the roads are at least 78% to 80% people from my state. People I took an oath to govern. So this excuse of federal roads, and that is why we cannot manage it, I don't buy it.
I'd like to know what you would do differently with regards to human trafficking. Those states ranks #1 in Nigeria. And it's almost become a norm now. And some almost believe that the governor, in the past 7 years plus, hasn't really paid attention to it because it's almost as if there's no report showing progress with regard to what's been done to address human trafficking in Edo State. Assess the governor's performance with regards to addressing human trafficking, and what would you do differently?
I think the governor has done a lot. But as you know, this problem has been there. If you remember the then First Lady Eki Benedion, she was just in the forefront then. If you went to most of the countries in Europe and spoke to our people and all. I think it's endemic. It's a problem we've had in the state, and I'm sure the present governor has done a lot that we might not see one day. There's advocacy. I also worked with NAPTIP here because I was a member of, and NAPTIP was under one of the committees that we were supervising when I was in the 8th Assembly. And I remember then the DG, is it DG then? The head of the establishment then had complained about the governor, and whether they were not having access, there were things they needed to do. But I think eventually she came back to say that, okay, I think they were working well, So his advocacy is going to take a long time to resolve.
And I also know that he signed the anti-human trafficking bill into law. But how well implemented has that been?
And that's where I'm coming to. Advocacy, and then make life good for those at home. I was at a point also in Europe, and I asked myself, am I better off than the people I left back home? I was a young man in worry then. Most of the people I left behind were doing very well. And I told myself, I don't belong here. And I came back to this country. So if we make life comfortable, if life is good for people at home, why would anybody want to go outside? So that's part of the governance we are talking about. If we have good network of roads, and then we bring in companies, we have thriving industries, people have jobs at home. If you live in the rural area, there's good health care for you. If you have kids there, there are good schools for them to go to. Just like the schools we went to. So if all this is happening in the state, why would anybody want to go outside the country? So it boils down to good governance. If you govern the state where most likely people would like to stay. That's my take.
That's your take, fine. Yeah. So what else would you do differently that would help your people with regard to improving their lives? I know you don't have your policy document yet, but I believe that this may help your chances at the primaries.
I am, if you check all my bills and motions while I was in the House, they were people-oriented. They were pro-people. Because the constituency I represented were really poor communities, rural areas. And I see people work so hard to eke out a living. So, like I said earlier, have basically good schools. And what will it take? If I have to give incentive to teachers to work in the rural areas, give them. When I went to high school, I had teachers that had quarters. We used to go there and clear their quarters. We had the Indians, we had other people. They were living within the school. So why can't we do that today if we have to provide basic accommodation for them within the school facility? We didn't even have solar then. We can have solar today. They might not have light to run air conditioners and all, but in the rural areas, most times when I go home, I don't even run air conditioners. But the air is fresh. So if you can create incentives for them, they are living in rural areas, they can farm behind the school. So they have cheap and free food. When I mean free, I mean affordable. And then their children are within the school or just schooling in the next maybe couple of meters away. So they are not paying transport to go to work. They are not paying transport for their children. They're going to get affordable food and very healthy food. And then maybe we can even give them a bonus. If you work in the community, we'll give you a bonus. I tell you, I have a foundation. I enroll 600 school children every year. And the best of the best, I give university scholarship. Because of the poor performance, I had to engage teachers that I was paying. But the criteria was you have to be living in that community. Because you cannot live in another community and you require transport to go there, so you will not go every day. You have to be living in this community to be hired. And I also heard my governor say that some time back, that for you to work, teach, you have to be in the community. So same thing will go apply when you're talking about the healthcare centers, the primary healthcare centers. The nurses should be domiciled, they should live within the community. Make the primary healthcare centers work. I mean, make life affordable for the very rural people. We cannot all be in Benin City. If life is good for people at home, they will not have any need to start running to the cities. Now we are talking about smart cities. We are talking about bringing industries. When people can get jobs and they can pay tax, they are happy in their local community. The place I feel more relaxed is my community. When I go there, I sit down outside. People come to me. And I actually sold a house in Port Harcourt where I was here. Rather than invest the money in buying a property here, I started building another house in the village. Because I told myself, when I leave this, probably be chairman of my company, go in once in a while to Port Harcourt and to Abuja and then Lagos, but will live amongst my people in my village and be tending to my farms. I made this decision in my 50s, early 50s. So, if we make life bearable for the rural people, it will affect even those in the cities. It will mean that even though you work in the cities, you have good roads, you can just dash down weekend. People can come home and start building. So, but those basic things we have lost sight of, let's go back to them. Make our schools work well, provide health care. Then look at even the pensioners. People, we deceive ourselves at times. People work for government for 30, 35 years. Then they retire. They are struggling to get their pension. That's not happening in Edo State. And I give credit to the governors, to the of Shomole and now to Obaseki. You know? There should be free health care for those people. They should have cards. They should be able to board. They should board buses. They should go into a bus without paying a dime. They should get free medical care. Because after putting in 35 years and you get a pension of 20,000 naira a month, that can't even feed you. And then you are spending that on drugs. And you are, see a young man who's growing up, he will see the father, see the mother that will work so hard. Then they are retired now, they are depending on their children. Do you expect that child to work in the civil service and work honestly? From day one, that young man is thinking of how to scam the system because he doesn't want to end up like the father or the mother. So we shouldn't lose sight of that. We should take care of our elders because they are our pride. So this whole thing, they have a way of trickling down to having good citizens that are patriotic, that want to give their best to the state. People should go back and farm. I mentioned that earlier. If you have cheap food within the state, we might not be able to control the exchange rate from the center, but if food is affordable, people can buy, afford it, and they can live well. You know, so it's not rocket science to do these things. We have the anti-grazing bill in the state, but it's not effective because you still see cattle being reared, everywhere in the state. Why can't we have paddocks? Why can't we have ranches? Everybody must go in there. Take a road there, wherever they are. Whatever is created, take a road there. The government can construct, if you have to borrow the money, take a road there. Have an abattoir there, have a veterinary clinic there. You know, it can be one in every senatorial. So quarantine everybody that should be moving outside with cattle in that place so that our people can go back and farm the land and earn money. Now people are scared to go to farm because you cannot do anything to these guys just parading the place and harassing everybody. So when you talked about my colleague talking about life not being safe, yeah, maybe largely in the rural areas.
Okay, let's wrap up this conversation now by bringing you back home to what I would call your constituency, where you spent 8 years, the National Assembly. At the beginning of this assembly, as a former lawmaker, you said that the 10th Assembly will be, what's it called there? It would be a rubber stamp Pro Max. I don't think it's too early to ask you if you stand by that statement, or perhaps you had a change of heart.
No, it's okay. The popular phrase then was
that the 9th was a rubber stamp. Was it?
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
Yeah, it was. But I don't even expect anything to be different in the 10th Assembly. I don't expect anything. Okay, now look at the way they even emerged, the leadership emerged. So what are you expecting? I don't expect anything more. Okay, now look at, for the first time, I voted twice in the 8th Assembly and in the 9th Assembly. We were instructed by the PDP leadership, do not vote for this person that APC has presented for speakership. Yes, even though we are bringing an APC person, but this is the candidate that PDP will support. And we obliged. I obliged, that is. Straight instruction. But the last election that happened for the leadership, for the presiding officers, did you see that happen? Did you see that?
I wouldn't know, would I?
You were there, you guys covered this.
I wouldn't know if they were told. I mean, well, no. You're just telling me you were told. I didn't know you were told.
Yeah, we were instructed clearly. You know, we had, usually that happens. We had series of meetings and we were told, look, fine, as long as APC is bringing this individual, I don't support him. This is the one we are bringing, even though it's APC, this is the person you vote for. But in this, the emergence of the presiding officers, it was one way.
But so, if political parties have chosen to vote for one candidate, why does that sound like a bad thing for the assembly?
So where's the I don't think that's
opposition?
In the spirit of democracy.
Okay.
You know, because look at the US today. Look at what just happened now.
But you don't have faith in the opposition leadership of Kingsley Chinda?
Chinda was in the forefront of that our fight. And I'm actually a Kingsley Chinda person. Because even when the young people that joined us then in the Ninth Assembly purportedly presented the then leader, Ilumelu, some of us objected to it. I said, no, our leader is Chinda, because that was what the party told us. Party called us and addressed us. And it turned out eventually, it's okay, fine. Honorable Chinda is the leader of the PDP caucus, even though Ilumelu remained a leader of the opposition.
Minority, yes.
Minority of the minority. Yeah. We were loyal to him. But it's different today.
What's different about him? It's the same person, isn't it?
Yeah, the same person. But his boss, his political boss,
has aligned with.
Exactly. Exactly. So, do you really think the Chinda that I know is an activist from the university, student unionism and all that, brought that to the house? You know? But can Chinda hold that house to ransom today? If he tries this, there will be a call from FCT, FCT Minister's office. So
Honorable Sergio Ogun, I'd like to thank you very much. And I'd like to think that we will talk again
Sure.
if you win the PDP primaries.
Not if. Whether it's PDP primaries or not, but I know, sitting down here, that I'm the next governor of Edo State.
Would you
2024.
decamp from the PDP if you don't win?
Well,
Because you're a Labour Party at heart somehow.
I am
Obedient at heart.
Yes.
Anyways, I'd like to thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for
and I
having
wish
me.
you well.
Thank you.
Honorable Sergio Ogun is a former member of the House of Representatives who's perhaps one of the very first persons to declare interest to run for the office of Governor of Edo State next year. I'd like to thank you very much for your time as well. It's been Political Paradigm. Remember to catch this episode and others by simply going on YouTube or go to channelstv.com. I'm Terry Ikumi. Bye-bye.